thumbs up have arrived.
The thumbs up have arrived. All, how many of them so far? 11 people?
11.
What do we got, like? What'd you say? We had like 12 or 20 or
35.
35 people hanging out so far? How's it going? This is our live stream on Thursday. Q&A stuff. We're going to talk about a very interesting topic that we aren't going to let people hang too long for tonight because I think it's really important. And I learned some new things today. So let's get into it. So a couple things right off the bat. We have another live stream right after this one over on our other channel. YouTube.com/Dylan and Leslie. We had a pretty major near miss with the motorhome. So we're going to chat about that. And some other things that I did today. Rode a Harley. And yeah. So we're going to talk about that on the other channel because it's kind of off topic.
9:30.
9:30 Eastern, which means we're cutting it off in time to like take a pee break and get over there. So if you have questions tonight, put the questions in front of your name. And if you think it's going to be close on time, use a super chat because we're cutting it off early so we can get, not early, but you know what I mean, so we can get over to that other one. We are going to talk about some current events as far as music business stuff goes. I think everybody's all over the place about this whole tube shortage situation. I learned some things. I don't even think that's the biggest problem, to tell you the truth. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff surrounding that. But before we do that, we have a question that came in from Patreon member. So here's the problem. I forgot to make the post. It's the first time I've ever done that. I apologize. But we did get one question from Patreon, and we're just going to throw it up there right now and take care of it. And any of you Patreon members or YouTube members, chime in there with questions and we'll try to get to you. Ben asks, hey Dylan, on a double screw pole piece humbucker, how would you go about removing surface rust from the top of the poles? Take them out. If they're double screw poles pieces, like just take them out and clean them. You know, with steel wool or something. Just make sure they're super clean before you put them back in so they don't have any shards on them or anything. But don't use steel wool on your pickup. That would be bad. So, yeah. Thanks, Ben, for that. You can manage the chatting over there would be cool. If you have questions, get them in. Leslie will grab them and we will intersperse them throughout. If you use a super chat, we will drop what we're doing. One of the things also I want to mention too is the podcast is on its own channel. It now has a vanity URL. Ooh. It is youtube.com/justgonnasayitpodcast. Which reminds me, we went to the Dylan Talks Tone mailbox because there's a P.O. box. We put a P.O. box. I stole the idea from Cletus McFarland and from Texas Toast to have a P.O. box in case people want to send us stuff to try or whatever. And in the mailbox this week was a t-shirt from I don't know who, because there was no note with it or anything. So whoever you are that sent me this t-shirt, I really appreciate this.
He was excited.
Yes, because this is great. We actually have a shirt similar to this on our website with in the podcast, format. But I really dig this, man. So thank you for sending that to me. I appreciate that very, very much.
Mystery mailer.
Yeah, mystery whoever you are that sent that in. The reason I'm bringing up the podcast is because I think I'm going to start announcing on Thursday nights who the next week's podcast is. This week, I just recorded it today. It comes out Tuesday. It comes out Tuesday morning at 5 a.m. because that's podcast release time. Mind-blowing episode. I've known this guy for probably 5 or 6 years. It's another one sort of like Tim McNally. We've just like passed in the night and never gotten a chance to sit down and talk. This dude is absolutely a legend. He is like a legend in the guitar industry that you may have never heard of. But maybe you have. His name is Adam Reaver. He owns a company called FU Tone. They make, as he calls it, dual action tremolo hardware and other hardware. And they build guitars, and they have a whole bunch of other stuff on their website. It's very, very cool. What Adam is known for is the D-Tuna. So for those of you that don't know what the D-Tuna is, it's a thing that went on the back of a Floyd Rose tremolo, and you pull it, and it detunes your low E down to a D, or like a full step. He invented that with another guy, and of course, Van Halen made it famous. In this episode, he gets he literally got to a point where he's like, okay, we need to not talk about Van Halen anymore. Because he knew him so well and was such good friends with them. I mean, just he was talking all about what inspired him to play, the impact that he had on the music industry, what it was like to work with him, all this kind of stuff. And then the Patreon portion of that podcast is insane because we literally live have like this business meeting that kind of just happened. And it was like dude, should I call you later? And he's like, no. That's the beauty of this. Let's just talk about it right now and show Patreon what these conversations are supposed to be like. And was like, let's develop we're like literally product development. Me and him collaborating on some stuff. Just boom, 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 right there. It was so fun. And I mean, mind-blowing to me, some of the stuff that you learn about some of your musical heroes, because he's worked for everybody. We're literally talking and his phone rings and he's like, oh, Smashing Pumpkins. I guess I'll call them back later. Like, I mean, really, really awesome conversation. So the cool part, and I keep forgetting to mention this, if you join the Patreon to get the extra episodes of all the podcasts, you get all of the backlog of them, and you get whatever else our Patreon comes with, because it's the same Patreon for both channels. Yeah. And I forgot to mention that. So you get early release to videos, you get all the stuff that we normally do on Patreon, plus the podcast. Because I didn't want to split it up. Lots of value for $5 a month. Just thought I'd mention it. We got a super chat.
All right. Super chat from John. He didn't clarify. Was it always 9 or did it go up? John owned 9, can't play any.
I think it's been 9 for a while.
Okay. Thank you for the super chat, John. He says, my son is a diver competing in state championships. Need a camera. Suggestions.
Depends how deep he's going to go. And yeah, it depends how deep he's going to go and what kind of camera he would want to have. Honestly, the easiest thing is a GoPro Hero 10. Because they're just the easiest to use. Leave it on all auto settings, and it's pretty awesome. And my dad uses one to scuba dive, and they have a special case that it goes in. Even though it's waterproof, get the case anyway, because then they have these like weird red filters that go on them, so the stuff shows better underwater. So that might be the jam. This is the easiest, least amount of fiddling to do is to just get a GoPro. I don't have a GoPro because I use something different. But for that application, boom, that's what I would do.
Yeah, his whole family is divers.
Yeah, all my family dives except for me. So, yeah, thank you for the super chat. Let's dive right into this situation that we're talking about, the various things with shortages and stuff. So we talked about this on Saturday. Um, and a couple of the things I wanted to address, and you can jump in the comments and comment all you want, obviously, about this and give your thoughts on it. But one of the things there's a few things that, like a theme that kept coming up in the comments, right? One of them was, well, let's just make tubes in the United States. Isn't Western Electric going to make tubes? Okay, so Western Electric does make tubes. They are $1,600 a pair.
What?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Those same tubes, okay? Now, those are not guitar tubes. Those are special tubes. But those same tubes made in Russia or China are $400 a pair.
Okay.
So they're $800 a piece in the United States. They're $189 to $199 if they're made in Russia or China. So that makes sense. Anytime, for those of you that are not familiar with manufacturing, typically it has been my experience over the last 20 years or so, a couple of different businesses, 3, 4, that United States manufacturing versus Chinese or other foreign manufacturing is typically, in these types of things, 3 to 4 times whatever it's going to cost. It's just kind of how it works. Here's the problem. If you use that same pricing percentages and structures, and you have a Hot Rod DeVille, which is a $400 to $500 used amp, okay? So you could probably get a used one on Craigslist for $455, $500, okay? That would put a tube replacement for that amp at $500 to $600. If you use the same percentages that they use for those tubes for a 12AX7, for a 12AT7 or AU7, 6V6, 6L6, and you go through like a Hot Rod DeVille, you're looking at $500 to $600 for tubes. Now here's the problem. Here is the problem. So let's take that same $500. Okay, let's just say $500 on the low side, and then let's wholesale price that. So now wholesale price is going to be $300 for a set of tubes, which means that a Bass Breaker 50, which is a 6L6 amp, I think, has $300 worth of tubes in it. That is an $800 amp. $800 or $900 amp. There is no way that that is scalable. None. It means that every amp is going to triple in price. So, it is not reasonable. The other thing that's not reasonable about it, because everybody's like, well, why don't they just move operations somewhere else? Do you know what a tube factory is? It's the dirtiest, nastiest thing on the planet. Probably. Not really, but pretty much. And it takes a long time. Once a tube factory is up and running, you can make a tube, but that doesn't mean the tube is good. Did you know that Fender throws away almost 50% of all the tubes that they buy? So they have to buy a pallet of tubes, test all those tubes, and the ones that are outside of tolerance get put on a pallet and they get thrown away. But you cannot just throw a tube away because it has all this toxic crap in it. So the EPA has to come in a bunch of Tyvek suits, literally a bunch of Tyvek suits. They pack all this stuff up. They have to incinerate it down somehow in a way that the smoke doesn't get out. There's a whole process to this to get rid of these tubes that are bad, because they have almost a 50% fall off rate. And what's crazy is the ones from China right now, Fender has been trying to get tubes from China because they knew that having all their eggs in one basket is a bad idea. So they're like, well, let's get tubes from other places. Well, you can only get tubes from a couple other places in China, one of them which is burned down right now. that factory will not be online until the first of the year, maybe. So they go to China, and the fall off rate is even higher. So that's the problem. This is not, well, you know what? The parts aren't available at Napa. I'm just going to go to Advance Auto Parts. This is not that. This is a much bigger deal than that. And so all of these surrounding factors are much more than, like I said, much more than just a warehousing location or a, you know, well, we make it over here, let's just move it over there. It doesn't work like that because of the type of operation that this stuff is. Plus the price structure and scaling and all that. Now, this week, Mike Matthews from EHX said that he has found a way around something, and he will start to take orders for tubes at the end of April or so. However, everything's going to be way more expensive. Way more expensive. So, you're just going to have to keep an eye on that. It's going to be more expensive. Just know that. But that is not the only problem. Fender and most other amp manufacturers use birch plywood in their cabinets. I'll give you one guess where the birch plywood comes from. Would you want to guess? Guess where it comes from.
Where?
Russia. I bet nobody here knew that. The plywood for the amps comes from Russia too. So, Fender's plywood source has tripled in price over the last 10 days. 12 days since the person I talked to told me this. That's insanity. So now you have tubes that cost 3 times as much, and you have plywood that costs 3 times as much. Now your amp costs 3 times as much to build, because those are the big pieces, the plywood and the tubes, and the speaker, but I don't know where the speakers come from. Here's another thing to think about. And I don't mean to be alarmist, because everybody's like, you're such an alarmist, you're just doing this for clicks. I'm not. I'm personally concerned because I make pickups for a living. And the price of nickel has also tripled in the last 10 days. And guess what goes into every magnet, every cover, every base plate, every slug, every screw, except for the brass ones, that go into a pickup? Nickel. So as of right now, I've heard that my Alnico rod cost is going to go up by double in the next couple of months. So what I did the other day is I ordered thousands at the current price, and my vendor was so cool that they didn't have enough to send me, and I locked in that price for the back order. So that's pretty sweet. They're pretty awesome to me about that. To stave off for as long as possible any kind of cost of goods increase to the pickups that we make, because I don't want to raise my prices. I don't want to be one of those people who's like, well, I guess we have to raise prices. I don't want to be that guy, because I've been seeing a bunch of people I feel like they're profiting from it in a weird way. So I just want to make sure that we don't do that. So we're going to try to do what we can do to be as transparent about that as possible. But all of this stuff is affected. So I just
don't get out of line with comments.
I just want to mention that. I just want to mention that and let you know what I know. And as I learn more about it, I will tell you more about it. And I will say that the people that I'm talking to, well, they know. They're in the meetings. They're sitting in the meetings about this stuff with various brands and sources and stuff of where stuff comes from and all that. So is it concerning? Yeah. Do we need to be alarmist about it? I mean, it's a hobby, right? So in all sense of the word. You don't want to be insensitive.
Except here. It's not a hobby here.
No, it's not a hobby here because this is our living. And that's the thing. Like, that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I know it will affect us at some point.
Right.
And I want to be 100% transparent about, like, look, guys, first of all, we have not had a price increase in 2 years. 2 years. Everybody's been raising their price 3 to 5% every year. And actually, the guitar industry has been 10 to 15. Mm-hmm. And we have resisted that for 2 years. So I'm really trying to not raise them again. I haven't even raised shipping prices, and that's been kind of biting me a little. But in the spirit of being awesome, I mean, community, all of us, like, for my contribution to the community, I want to just soak that up and not do it, because I want to help keep everybody going. Like, in a world where people are stressed out about stuff, I don't want to be the guy who's like, I was about to do this fun thing, but now I can't because you're more expensive. Like, I want to furnish the fun still. So, that's why it's important, I think, to talk out loud about this stuff, and just be super transparent about it. So anyway, that was a very interesting day and a very interesting few conversations that I had with a few people. Yeah, it's heavy stuff.
We need to readdress the super chat that we got earlier.
Okay.
So first of all, John said it used to be owned 6 and now it's 9.
Okay.
But to be accurate, it should say 10. But then, hang on, I've gotten a lot of comments in here. Doc said, I think the diving question was more about capturing Olympic style springboard diving. So fast motions still captures. And John said that was correct.
Oh.
So we gave a terrible
I thought you meant like diving with a camera.
No, he means.
So still captures is going to be all about shutter speed. And that's going to be...
Not a GoPro.
That's going to be a mirrorless camera. Honestly. That's going to be an entry level, not entry level. They're pro. They're just the lowest. So we use Canon stuff here. Canon makes a kit with the Canon EOS RP and a 24 to 105 zoom that Olympic diving should be bright enough to be able to use a pretty high frame rate, I would think. To be able to go, 200 frames a second, 500 frames a second, 1,000 frames a second, and still have enough light. That camera will run you $1,200. That's probably where I would go. You could look at a Canon M50, but that's maybe, and they'll probably be somewhere around the 8 area. But a Canon EOS RP would get you in there. If money was not like a major issue, the EOS R, which is what you're seeing us on right now, would be a killer camera. And it also depends on how close you want to get. Because do you need a zoom lens? Do you need, stuff like that? This camera, this is my Canon EOS R6, but this body is $2,500. So, but this thing, wicked fast shutter speed, this is the bomb. This camera is fantastic. But again, it's more money. That one right there, I think with the EOS R with the kit lens is somewhere probably around 17, something like that. And then the EOS RP, which has the same basic sensor, it's a little different than that camera, would get you in the $1,200 range, something like that. But if shutter speed's the thing, then I think a mirrorless camera is definitely the way to go. There are other alternatives in other brands, such as a Sony A7C. Sony A7C is a full frame mirrorless camera that is cheaper. Yep. So those are some options for you. Super chat.
Super chat from Matthew Perkins. Thank you for the super chat, Matthew. He said, what I've learned over the last week, guitar players are quite dependent on Russian sourced goods and materials. And somebody commented down, they were like, China probably more.
I doubt it. Everything comes from Russia. Capacitors.
I had no idea.
So here's the thing. This isn't.
Just don't think about it.
Okay. Thank you, Matt, for the super
Yes.
chat. And this gets us. This is going to get me sort of on a rant, to tell you the truth.
Uh-oh.
But gear snob dependent guitar players who guitar players think, this is a generalization, and you may not be in this generalization, but you know who I'm talking about. I'm sure you know somebody like this. Guitar players think they need to have certain things to do certain things. And they just don't. And if they were to be more flexible about and open-minded about what they could accomplish with their gear and look at different options, then maybe they wouldn't be so dependent on one thing or another. I just feel like one thing it's done for me is made me appreciative that I have been exploring other stuff lately. Like everybody's like tubes. I'm like, I don't care. I've been using them. I mean, I have a tube amp right here. My friend who knows all this stuff told me the other day, he's like, you should hang on to that. Don't sell it. You just see where it goes for the next 3 or 4 months before you sell it. And I'm like, yeah, I probably should. I
don't know who this person is in the comments, but I got a Jameson Snow. First comment was, you think guitars are expensive? Get into cameras, LOL. His next comment was, and if you think cameras are expensive, get into watches. And I'm like, who is this
Who
person?
is this guy? I like this guy. You're not kidding, because I'm into guitars, cameras, and watches, and I will tell you, it's no joke. Now I'm going down this whole coffee rabbit hole. Oh, I completely have gone crazy. Anyway, yes, you're right. And the other thing too, what's the best way to say this without being mean to anybody? I think it would do people good. This is a positive way to say this.
Somebody said, Dave L said, if you think watches are expensive, get into women.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, sorry.
That's funny. I think it would do people good to do some research on where things come from. Because I don't think people realize how global our economy is. And I don't want to get into politics and all the economics and stuff, because I am not as much of an expert on economics as many of the people in the comment section of many of our videos think they are. But I also am like, I want to look into this a little more. And then you start to realize, instead of just saying stupid stuff like, let's just make them in Connecticut, like, wait a minute, what really goes into this? And it really helped me to be able to appreciate, like, appreciate what you already have and not worry about buying more stuff. And then be a little more patient too. I think that's what it taught me too. It's like, man, I call up my supplier that I depend on for everything for years, and I can order whatever I want, whenever I want, and it shows up in 3 days, and all of a sudden I'm ordering thousands of something, and he's like, dude, I can't do it. And I'm like, oh, and you're like, well, I can't be mad about it. Like, just learn the patience to go with it, yeah, it's teaching me a lot.
Wayne Hussey just said, if you think women are expensive, have kids. It just keeps going.
We already did that.
So what's more expensive than kids?
Kids that have moved out. That's more expensive. Kids that have moved out are more expensive than kids that live with you, I swear. Oh. We love it, though. It's fun. Yep.
Are you going to answer some questions, or are you just going to keep talking?
No, let's do it.
I got 21 lined up here.
Oh, heck yeah. Sweet. Let's do it.
All right. Jim Cunningham. What is wrong with aluminum backplate, and how could one compensate?
Aluminum backplates for pickups. Aluminum has really bad eddy currents. Eddy currents so bad that you can make a magnet stick to aluminum. I did it in a video. We actually made a video about that. I should remake that video. Yeah. Bad eddy currents. Real bad. Screws with the inductance.
Are you done?
Yep.
Windsurf Maui. I've been watching some of your old videos with the whiteboard diagrams. Good stuff. I also feel like that was a little nudge there.
Tomorrow. Remind me tomorrow. We will buy.
Don't put it on me.
I can never remember.
Don't put it on me.
I just don't remember. I just don't remember.
Burzak Custom Guitars. I feel like I haven't seen Ben in a while. How do you get a good YouTube URL? Mine is still the random one from when I first started my channel, LOL.
You have to have 100 subscribers. And you have to have your channel all verified, do all the little things. There's a checklist. You can go into the, what is it? I want to say it's on the left menu and it says customization in your YouTube studio. And it says customization, I think. And then it goes in there and it's branding and all that. And then there's a thing and you can adjust that. Yeah. But you have to have 100 subscribers. You have to have a picture and all the art has to be up, and there's some things you have to do, but there's a list. It'll tell you.
Edge of Eternity 101. Unless you play your amp at louder volumes several times a week, chances are your tubes will hold up if you have some good tubes. Only in a few instances have I replaced tubes if they were not Chinese, maybe? Yeah.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing. I don't think people need tubes as much as they think they do. True. Yeah.
Iggy Tommy, are you no longer in the motorhome life?
We have a motorhome, but we do not live in it.
Lantertronics, Aaron Lanterman.
What's up, Aaron?
Vacuum tubes are still used in super high power RF applications where solid state electronics would fry.
Yes, and we have a super chat, and then I want to go back to that for just a second, so leave it there.
It won't be here when I leave, so if you want to talk about it, you better do it now.
Okay. The other thing that my little bird who tells me stuff told me is that a lot of people don't realize that, and everybody thinks this, that there's a factory over there that's just making guitar tubes, and they're not. They're making other stuff for other things, and there are only a few factories that are capable not only making tubes, but then narrow that down to the factories that are capable of making audio acceptable stuff. Mm-hmm. And then of those, they throw half of them away. Thanks for the super chat, y'all. Maury's music. He came over from Aaron Short. But really tall.
Thank you for the super chat, Mari's Music. Do you suspect tube amp manufacturers will explore solid state solutions, or is it too soon for that?
So a little bird told me. So, okay. Yes. Here's why I know this. These Tone Master things by Fender are not by accident. I have been guessing for probably a year and a half. And I've not said this out loud until right now. Well, till the other day when I asked my little bird who tells me things. I said, my guess is that Fender is going to just say, you know what? Screw tube amps. We're going to make all Tone Masters. And then we only have like 15 tubes left in a box. So we're just going to make some super high-end hand-wired custom shop only tube amps. But the real world is going to get all of the digital stuff. And the guy that tells me things told me, well, yeah, that's been the plan the entire time. Fender has been wanting a custom shop only set of tube amps for a while. And the Toadmaster stuff, that's probably where it's going to end up going. So, yes, you are 100% right. Modelers are taking over the world. You better just get used to it. The end. Or have your little Mad Max like collection of tubes in your underground wherever you get them to keep your own self going, after the tube wars.
We got another super chat.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you to Sean McMillan. What have you heard about the Brian May Queen Watch by Seiko, I believe?
We featured it in our news like 3 weeks ago. I can't remember what the movement is. It's an automatic movement. It's not
a watch in your news?
Well, yeah, because it's Brian May from Queen. Oh my gosh. And it comes with the little penny, 10 pence or whatever he plays as a pick. Comes with one of those. It's expensive. It's like $2,700 or something. It's ugly. I don't like it, but I wouldn't buy it. But it's cool, and I think they're sold out already.
Wow.
Yeah, they're only gonna make like 2,500 of them or something.
All right, let's go back. QB183.
Thank you for the super chat, by the way.
Oh, I don't know. Oh,
what you did.
Sorry. QB183. How easily can a tube amp be converted into a solid state?
So they have a product that you can actually take the tube out, and there's a transistor amplifier that plugs in where the tube goes. Guess where they make them? Russia.
Charles says grandkids are more expensive than kids and more fun.
We haven't got that far in life yet.
Dude, you hang out with a lot of birds. That's what Doc said.
Well, they know
like
stuff.
Birds.
They know things, man. I gotta hang out with people that know more stuff than me so I can learn.
All right. Fretzy. Hey, Dylan. Last week, I sent you that email about the bad guitar quality control in the shop I work at. Have you gotten a chance to check it out?
No, I have not. I forgot about it. And it comes to a completely different inbox. And so it's not connected to my normal work inbox. So that's why I missed it. I apologize.
So now we got whiteboard and check email.
Yes.
Troy Belford. We will be able to get tubes. They just won't be as cheap as we'd like. Speculation will make people buy them up, making the bad situation worse. That's the shortage. I think that's typical. Anything.
I think it's typical. And I think over the next it's going to take probably 2 years, I would say, for it to really level out. But yeah. I think where it's really going to hurt is people like, I was listening to Andy Fuchs was on the Tone Mob podcast the other day. And he's like, I don't know what to do. Like, people don't know what to do. The smaller Benson amps, Fuchs amps, Carr, all the boutique guys, they're going to hurt. Because they only make so many amps anyway, and it's barely paying their bills or whatever. Or, that's what they do for a living, kind of like I do. But then all of a sudden they can't make any. And they don't have the money to, switch to modeling. You know what I mean? Like Fender does.
Aaron Brown. JJ tubes are Slovakian?
They are. They're made in Slovakia. But JJ is actually at, max capacity right now. There's no way they would take up for any more than what they're doing right now.
Jammin' Shaman. Hi. Does having a volume pot in the wiring automatically impact the sound and tone? Can I get better tone out of my guitar by excluding a volume pot, or would keeping the volume do the same? Sorry.
That is a great question. And the answer to all of those things, except for the last one, is yes. You can get the purest way to get tone from your pickup to your ears is with no pots. Because even at 250K or 500K or 1 meg on 10, it is still a resistor in the circuit. Yes. That is a great question. It's not worth it, though.
Super chat from Corey Forgrave. Thanks.
What's up, Corey?
For the super
Yeah,
chat.
I don't know if we've seen you in a couple weeks, so thanks.
Corey asks, got my first direct mount pickup and notice I can feel the strings vibration in the bridge pickup when I grip it with my pinky. Is this common? It's an Alnico 8 pickup, if it matters. It feels cool.
So basically what you're doing is if you direct mount the pickup, you're just feeling the vibration of the guitar in the pickup. Yeah. I want to do a video about that. I actually have some things from FU Tone that mount pickups in the bottom of a body, and I want to do something with it to talk about that because it is interesting. Thank you for the super chat and welcome back. I think I just hadn't seen you in a while. You may have been here, but I just hadn't seen you, so hello.
New gun guy. Dylan talks tone. I need to hear it from you. Caps don't affect tone, right?
Well, the value of the cap affects the tone. And if you were to watch an oscilloscope very closely, at frequencies that don't really apply to a guitar, then one could say that the type of cap could affect it. But for normal operating voltages, normal resistances, and normal operating circumstances of a guitar, you could put whatever kind of cap you want in there and it will be no big deal. The value and the tolerance of the cap matters, though. You want a low tolerance cap, which would be J or K and below, down to A, and whatever value of cap you want.
Super chat from Damian Joseph.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the super chat. About to gig again. Would you, 1, grab new tube amp at current price? 2, use tube amp? 3, Tone Master, even though it may fail and not be repairable?
Tone Master all day long. Why would a Tone Master fail? That's the thing. So this is a very good question, because what goes out faster, an incandescent light bulb or an LED light bulb? We all know the answer.
Oh, and he had a subsequent thought while you were talking about this. P.S. Why won't Fender address the elephant with Tone Master and reassure customers on durability, longevity, and repairability?
I'm going to tell you right now. It don't have light bulbs in it. It will be fine. This is the thing. Solid state stuff is made to last a very long time. Tubes are not. The minute you turn a tube on, it is decaying. That is how it works. The electrons leave this surface and go to this surface, and they don't come back. So the minute you turn it on, it is wearing out. Solid state stuff does not do that, and digital modeling amps do not do that either, less than a regular solid state amp. So like my Katana over here will have more heat in it than my Catalyst, because the Catalyst is modular and the way it makes sound is different. Yeah, it's as long as the software is solid. And like a Tone Master, for example, doesn't have software for, well, it's not doing like constant firmware updates and constantly, you're not like importing new profiles and doing all this stuff. To me, the Tone Master is the jam because it's just doing one thing very, very well. I don't think you're ever going to have a problem with it. Reliability is not going to be a thing, as long as you don't get it super duper hot.
I don't know what that says. I am OKT. I don't know, Ray. Why did mainstream guitar wiring remain so simple over the years? Gilmore mod, parallel series, out of phase, as standard.
Ooh, that's a great question because it's an interesting thing to think about. A passive guitar is a subtractive signal chain. So we were just talking about this with this other question where we take all the pots out and we just go from a pickup to the output jack. That's the purest way you can get sound out of a guitar, from the pickup to the output jack. Nothing in between. Every time you add a component, you're subtracting from the tone. You're adding resistance, which is subtracting various frequencies depending on what that resistance is. So the more crap you put in there, so you have a bunch of pots and a bunch of switches and a bunch of capacitors and stuff, you're just robbing tone from what the pickup could do. At the same time, because the whole capacitance and resistance of the circuit changes, you're also changing the overall resonant peak of the entire circuit together, and it's changing the tone of the guitar. So the more stuff you put in there. Now, we say that with passive guitars because passive guitars are those subtractive circuits, but active guitars are not because they have a preamp in them. So a preamp is different. That's why a bass, like that's why sometimes you'll see like a fancy bass with like 17 knobs on it, and it can do all this bass cut and boost and all this crazy stuff that you don't see on a normal guitar because it has a preamp in there, and those are active controls that are actually adding to the signal and taking away from the signal in a different way, where a passive guitar is only subtracting. So like a volume mod, for example, a treble bleed, people think you're adding highs, but you're not. You're taking away lows. So that's a great question. I like that question.
Windsurf Maui. Last year, you reviewed a pair of guitar wireless transmitters receivers. Are you still using them? Do you recommend them?
I think I gave them away. I think I put them in somebody's order, like surprised them with it.
So you're not still using them? Do you recommend them?
For around the house and for practicing, and like if you're in your practice room and they're good. I don't know that I would gig with them. I wouldn't gig with them, but I would for the convenience of you're in your living room, you only have one spot where your amp can fit. You know what I mean? Like the amp is allowed to be there and you're sitting on your couch and you don't want cables running everywhere and you're just practicing. They're great. But I don't know that I would gig with it.
Windsurf Maui again. Should we be hoarding nickel wound guitar strings before prices go up?
No, I don't think so. But that is an interesting question because nickel is in strings too.
Yeah, and then there was a subsequent, like before we could get to the answer there, commented in and said, all this talk about shortages and rising prices just panicked me into buying some nickel guitar strings.
Dude, I mean, really. If you're going to panic buy, please use the Sweetwater link below. That would be great.
Oh my gosh. All right, so what do we have on our list? We have a whiteboard. You have to check your email.
And I checked my email.
And Ben said, you need a lab coat.
You never lab coat too. You know what? Let me grab my iPad. We're actually going to make a list. Keep going.
All right. Alan Phillips. Do you think a humbucker in the neck and bridge would work with a P90 in the middle position?
I've done that before. It gets a little... it's just a lot. But it does work. I mean, yeah. I don't know that I would do it, but it does work.
New gun guy. Do you think it's possible for an American company to manufacture tubes here? How impossible is it really?
I don't think it's impossible. I really don't think it's impossible. But what I do think is that it will take a lot longer. When they open their doors on day one, they're not going to be making audio quality tubes. There's going to be a lot of testing and a lot of screwing around and mistakes and stuff. Number one. Number two, because the knowledge base that goes with that is very limited. Like there's only like 16 old guys in the world that know how to do it. I'm exaggerating, but I'm just saying that's a thing, you know. It's not like making a website where there's like bajillions of people that know how to make a website. There's only a few people that really know this tube stuff. And then the other thing is the cost. The cost is a huge deal. It will cost more, and it will cost triple. And then also the EPA regulations. One of the reasons why it's happening in China and happening in Russia is because not because they've figured out a way to do it. It's because they don't have the same regulations that the United States has when it comes to the crap that they can put in the river. I'm just trying to, be. Can they find a way around it? Maybe, but as at today, no.
Matthew Perkins, thank you for the super chat. So, PRS is robbing tone by adding a tiny capacitor between the input and output lug of the volume pot. Does Paul know that?
Yeah, he knows it. And yeah, he is. That's why I don't do it. But that being said, what he is probably doing, because, TCI, thank you for the super chat, Matthew. That whole TCI thing, the tuning of, that's what he's doing. He's like, okay, well, I want this feature and I want it to work a certain way. So now I have to design the pickups to compensate for that. And if you design them together as a set, then it makes sense. He has done something very interesting in the fact that he's developed his guitars in such a way that most people, how many people do you know own a PRS who are like, I'm going to throw some new pickups in it. I'm going to throw some new pots in it. I'm going to mod it. Most people that own PRSs don't do that. He has figured out a way to design everything together as a system to work in such a way that people don't feel the need to mod them as much. But if they did, it would change it.
All right. Al Adolphson, just an old guy.
What's up, Al?
I have a guitar with a fixed tremolo and one with a floating trim. Is it necessary to block the trim when changing strings?
Nah. Nope. Some people will say change one at a time. I don't. I just cut them all off and change them.
Jim Cunningham said, "You guys are adorable. Thanksgiving dinner invitation kind of adorable."
Except we don't eat turkey. But thank you.
Adorable. I don't know if anybody's ever said that. That's weird.
That's funny.
You can only invite adorable people for dinner. Do they eat people for dinner?
Ugh.
I'm just kidding.
Is that what it is?
Idiot Brother and the Can We Talk About It? My local amp guy said tubes have been difficult for a while and even transistors.
Yep. It's true.
Iggy Tommy, where are the Vox Korg nanotubes made?
I think those are Chinese or Japanese, but those aren't really tubes. Those are... they're not tubes in the same way. Because they're only like 9 volts or 5 volts or something. But they do sag and stuff way better. But I don't know. We'll see if that happens. Any more than it already is. I had one of those. It was okay.
Doc says, and you know where they make all the old guys who know about tubes? Russia. Dang it.
It's true.
Jammin' Shaman. Do you perceive a tonal difference between chambered versus solid bodies, nickel versus stainless steel frets, and covered versus uncovered humbuckers? Thanks.
I mean, yes to all of the above, but because yeah, you can tell. But I think that if you are concerned about those aspects, uh, there's a there's a law of diminishing returns when it comes to that stuff. And if you want to take a swing at your guitar and make it sound better, besides taking lessons, those are the areas that you will waste a lot of time. And they won't make as big of differences as you would think.
Tony Lopez says, "Hey guys, I sent you an email asking advice on rewiring my jazz guitar."
Oh, awesome. Tony Lopez actually was over on the Texas Toast live stream tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, hey, can you give me the information for your pickup guy? And they were trying to figure out who he was talking about. And it must have been me because he sent me an email.
Sweet.
So cool. Yeah, thanks, dude.
Ronza Blevin said, "Are people living a shorter lifespan just so I can get a tube sound?"
Dude, oh man. If you read the comments in videos and on Facebook and social media in the last week, you would think so. Like, people are losing their minds over this. I'm like, just play something else. Like, it's attacking their very will to live. I'm like, give me a break. I mean, I like them, but I don't like them enough to stress about it.
Jason Oak, what kind of whiskey are you drinking?
This is Clondenny single malt, bottled at the Fettercairn Distillery. It's not my favorite, but it was like I need to buy it to try it kind of thing. So I've been sort of just trying to get through the bottle. It's okay. Yeah.
George Anderson, hey, do you have any advice for setting up my Stratocaster so that I can have the South Bridge blended on all three pickups? I'm wanting to add some more depth to my neck pickup.
You could use the Gilmore mod for that, which is basically a A/B switch, like an on-off switch, that turns your neck pickup on, and it gives you 7 positions. You could put it on a push-pull, or you could put it on a separate little switch. That's what I would do.
Saddlebag. What will Fender do when they can't get semis for their tone masters either?
Semiconductors. I mean,
Semis?
you know, I see questions like this, and I understand what you're saying. But I also sense a level of sarcasm in there because you're a tube guy. I'm just going to call it out. Because I really feel like, I mean, what if we run out of anything? You know what I mean? But this is where we are right now. The reality is, tubes are going to be really expensive. There's going to be less of them. Fender is going to make, I believe they've cut their production of amps at least in half and maybe a little bit more. I'm pretty sure it's at least half. So you're going to go to the store and there ain't going to be any. So, I mean, you can talk crap about modelers all you want, but this is where we are. When the United States banned leaded gas, people flipped out. And they were like, this is the worst thing that ever happened. And we learned how to live without lead in our gas. And then they put anti-lock brakes and fuel injection on stuff, and people were like, fuel injection sucks, because Volkswagen fuel injection in the early 80s, KJ-tronic and JJ-tronic fuel injection was terrible. And then they figured it out. And now if something's carbureted, it's a pain in the butt and it won't run in Colorado. So, like, time marches on. And I get the idea that you want to be sentimental about old technology. You should see the video that I found. Somebody sent me a link. This is hilarious. Somebody sent me a link to a video, and it was like, because I was like, I need to make a video or find out information about how tubes are actually made. And it was, somebody sent me a link, and they're like, this is a really good video. It's like 28 minutes long. It gets super in detail. And it was in black and white, scratchy, like, the story starts back in 1938 in blah, 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 England. And it was a Mullard tube video. And I'm like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. We are talking crap about technology that should have died years ago. But because of sentimentality, it's around. And I understand it because I want it. I love it. I think it's great. But when it comes to this kind of situation, you just do what you need to do. I mean, I'm just going to do what I need to do.
Ronza Blevins was trying to ask, what do the workers at the factories producing the tubes suffer?
I don't know. I think about that all the time. I mean, I have friends who have a lot of friends in places that are affected by all this. And I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know what they have to go through. I have no idea. Yep.
John B. How did the catalyst take pedals? I have a tube amp on layaway, but thinking about getting a catalyst instead. No catalyst in stock in my area until June or July.
Yeah, I would say get one anyway. They're $400 and they're fantastic. I think they take pedals really well. I think so. Here's the thing about these, and I'm going to do a video about pedals with the catalyst, but everybody wants to know how it takes an overdrive pedal. Here's the thing. What is an overdrive pedal for? An overdrive pedal is the original intent of an overdrive pedal is to put an amplifier in front of the amplifier to push the tubes in a tube amplifier harder so that you can get an overdriven sound before a high volume, at a lower volume. When what you really need to be doing is just taking that amp and turning it all the way to 10. But it's so loud that you can't do that, so you have to put an overdrive pedal in front of it to drive the tubes. That's what an overdrive or a distortion pedal does. And then all the bajillions of them are to do it with different flavors. With a modeling amp, you don't need to do that. You can just say, I'm going to play a wide open amp at a lower volume, the end. So you don't need overdrive pedals. You could still use them to shape your tone and stuff, but honestly, they don't play as big a part with a modeling amp because they are doing something that you don't need to do with a modeling amp. All the other pedals, like, time-based stuff and, all your modulation and all that crap, all that stuff is awesome. But I think the real big question for people is distortion and overdrive. But it's just kind of a non-issue, really. And I know it takes the fun out of it.
Joshua Grotti, looking to fix up a 1995 Epiphone SG G400. Do you think it's worth it or a waste of time?
Do you like it? And so my reasoning and thought process on low-priced guitars for whether they're worth modding or not is, what are you doing and what are you trying to fix? So if you're trying to fix how it sounds, pickups and pots and stuff, do you like the rest of the guitar? Do you like the color? Do you like the fret size? Do you like the neck? Does it play great? Do you really like this guitar? Except it doesn't do this one or two things with the sound of it that can be fixed with pickups. If you really like the guitar, then mod it. If it's your first guitar, definitely. Me and Adam Reaver were talking about this today, about him regretting selling his first guitar, and me keeping my first guitar and saying I'll never sell it. And we were talking about it, like I always say on my channel, never, ever, ever, ever sell your first guitar. Like, keep your first guitar. So if it's your first one, definitely mod it and just keep it. No matter how much it costs and no matter what your friends say.
We have to wrap it up soon. Ian Arizpe. I'm sorry if I botched your name, Ian. What upgrades would you make to an SC24 standard other than new pickups?
Probably just that. Yep.
Kenny Johnson, how about keeping it analog? So many good preamp pedals. Maybe something like the orange pedal baby and pedal preamps.
Yeah, so in our news yesterday, we just talked about the new Hughes and Kettner one. These amp in a box things are getting very good. And what about the Blug? That thing is great. There's a bunch of that stuff that I think is awesome. Yeah.
Doc says carburetors. There's another thing that you need an old guy for. Nobody knows how to set them up well anymore. OMG, everything is dependent on old guys.
I know how to set up a carburetor. Does that make me old?
Yes.
I guess it does.
Vox Guitars Rock. What if you turn your tube amp up to 11 and run it through an inefficient speaker? Could you limit upper volume that way?
Kind of. Yeah, you kind of can, but I think then that screws with the frequency response of the whole thing. But yeah, I've seen people do that before.
Mr. D20. Hi, Dylan. Cheers on the scotch.
Thanks.
I forgot to order a volume pot for the build I'm doing. What are my options for just not using one?
So you can not use one and then use a volume pedal, but volume pedals are such tone sucks. They're not very good. So I would actually put a volume pot in it. Yep. 500K if you want to be the least amount of tone suck.
OU812. So, what are your opinions on the positive grid bias head versus fractal stuff?
Fractal's way better. I mean, Fractal is awesome. Positive Grid's great. I have their plugins. I have their little USB thing. I have the Positive Grid Spark right there. The stuff is fantastic. I personally think, and I have a friend who in New Jersey who uses the Positive Grid bias head to record with, and he loves it. I don't think it can touch a Fractal though.
Janice Chickanowski. I'm struggling today, y'all. Is it possible to replace the tubes with MOSFET transistors? What do you think about it?
There have been people that have done that. And like I said, there's been some pretty developed products along those lines, but they're made in Russia. So, yeah.
Let's see if I missed anything. Ed Kress, what do you think of the Friedman Runt 20 head?
It's good. I've played it. It's really good. I swear, if Dave Friedman touches something, it's just awesome.
Feel like
we're fairly caught up, huh?
Yep, because I got that one. Someone just came in, I think. Ison said, if I have a Taylor T3B electric guitar with exchangeable pickups, am I stuck to just the Taylor pickups, or is there something else I could use?
I'm going to look because I don't remember that guitar.
And while he's looking that up, we are going to pop off here about 9:15 Eastern because we have another stream at 9:30 Eastern. On
our other channel. And it is youtube.com/Dylan and Leslie.
And I'm going to comment so you can see the YouTube channel. Because that's who I comment as.
I think those are just regular pickups. I think you could put just about anything in there. You know, humbuggers. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure you could do that.
Rick said I missed him. I don't know what your question was, Rick. You have a couple minutes to get it back to me because I
No,
don't...
I think he actually said, like, did you miss me? Because I don't think he's been here.
No, he has been here.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he wasn't here the whole time. He did come in late, but I don't remember seeing a question from him.
We're still waiting on the catalyst. Let's see if Rick missed anything else. I went to the doctor yesterday. I got new contacts. I mentioned in the Zoom or in my news yesterday because I couldn't see something and I had to like look way down close. And I can actually read this crap now.
Zoom in.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. I got a new contact lens yesterday and it's helping a lot. Yeah, awesome. You guys, it's been super fun. Please do me a favor. If you have a last minute question you want to pop it in here, we got about 5 minutes left. But please go check out our podcast. It is so cool. And it's been so much fun to make. And the things that are going to come out of it, I think is cool too. Just as we talk to people and exchange ideas, and a lot of that stuff you're going to see over on Patreon. So please go over there and join the Patreon thing if you can. That would be great. I thought we had...
Sorry.
Oh,
Just like when you
I
record a
accidentally
video.
did it backwards. That's an Instagram logo, patreon.com/DylanTalksTone. That's the Instagram, or that's the Patreon logo. A Patreon address. It's $5. There's hours and hours and hours and hours of content over there for you to love. And the last Monday of every month, we do a live hangout where we hang out with everybody and ask questions, answer questions and stuff. We do it on Zoom, so it's video and audio, and it's really kind of fun. So anyway, awesome. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I hope you guys have a good night. Please come over to the other channel at 9:30 because we're going to have some fun talking about some stuff.